In this video, we're going to explore intents more. In previous videos, and you can check the Android playlist, we learned to open a new activity when a button was clicked. And that was called an explicit intent. We explicitly specified the activity that should be opened or enabled. In this, we're going to look at implicit intents, which give a general message to do something, and it can call any Android app capable of doing what is being asked. So before we go any further, let me demonstrate what our app is going to do by the time we're finished. So I have a sample up here. We are going to load our application, and we just have a placeholder image in there for right now. We're going to have a button that is going to go out to the image gallery and let you select an image, and when you select one, it's going to take that image back to our app and display it in an image view. So then we can go back and forth, make a call out to the gallery, select an image, and bring it back into our app to work with. So in that, we're going to look at working with implicit intents. So what is an implicit intent? Let's look at an example. In my emulator, I'm going to go into the gallery program, and I have some images already in here. I have a separate video on demonstrating how to add images to your gallery, so if you want to test this out and put some in. When I select something from my gallery, the gallery gives me options up here of, setting it probably as the background and deleting it. But one of the other options is share. Now by clicking that, that is going to announce to the Android system that it's looking for applications that are available to work with that intent in order to work with the image that we want to share. So it could be sending it to Facebook. Maybe you're developing another app for modifying or changing or customizing the image. Maybe it can be sent out through an email, be sent out through a text message. So you may build an app where you want to get images from the library or from the gallery and have it as an option for when the user taps to share it. So maybe to send that to your app. Now on my emulator, there aren't any other programs right now that will be available to do anything with share other than a text message. So when I select to share it, it takes me into the new message section where then I can text it to somebody else. But once we have other apps on your device or your emulator that are able to handle that intent, then we'll get a list that will pop up here and show us what options there are to do when we want to share that image. So that's what the example is going to be in our little practice app that we develop. So to get started, you should switch to Eclipse and create a new Android project. Okay, so I've created a new Android application and I've just named it Gallery Image. And what we want to do is to register this app with Android so that the operating system can handle an intent made from the gallery. So when somebody clicks on an image to share, we want our app to be recognized as one of those options that they can choose from. So in order to do that, we register that within our manifest file. So I'm going to open up the manifest file. And if you remember from previously, we created intents in order to link or go from one activity to another. And we have this intent filter, which is actually loading our main XML when the application launches. So we're going to do something similar to that. I'm going to paste in some code, and it's another intent, and we'll go over and see what this will do for us. So we have another intent filter, and the name of our intent is action send. Right here we had action, which loads the main XML file. In this case, action send is for in the gallery when the image is going to be sent. We're announcing that we can handle this action. So this app can handle the intent of an action send. Now, category here we had launcher, and the categories give additional information about the intent, and we just use default. If you're not sure what the category is to be used, you can use default in there. And then we added one other piece of data here, data Android MIME type equals, and we're specifying the type of data that can be sent with this, and we're specifying an image. Now, image/star means we can take any image. We could be specific and say JPEG or PNG files, but since we're going to say any image, we're going to use the star in there. So now, by just identifying this intent filter to say this application can handle a send action, and if it's an image, any image type, we're going to be able to be one of the options that the user can select from. So I'm going to save my gallery image, and I'm going to launch my app. Now, the app doesn't do anything yet. We don't even have anything set up on our main screen. So I'm going to go back into the gallery, and from here, let's try that again. The last time it took us right into the messaging program. But now if I choose an option in here and then go into share, see now this time it doesn't take us right into messaging. Now it says, okay, now gallery image can handle sharing this picture. So our intent that we put into the manifest file is announcing to all of the other applications on our Android that it can handle this send option with an image. So when I tap this, it goes back to the gallery image, but we haven't done anything to capture the information that was being sent from that other intent. So let's work on that as the next piece. So we'll come back into our gallery image, and I'm going to set up my main XML file. Now what we ultimately want to have happen is to get the image from the gallery and display it in our image view. So I'm going to drag this over here. I'm just going to use the default launcher icon, and I'll just quickly set it up to center and maybe put a little padding at the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to save my main XML. Now this is, when I select this, we can see over here the ID is image view 1. So we'll have to make sure that that's going to match up in our code. And now I'm going to go into my Java file, and let's set this up so that it will recognize when the information is coming from the gallery to take the image and display it. Okay, now to save time in this, what I did was I've created some snippets of code that I'm going to use to copy and paste in so that you don't have to watch me type out every letter and then mess up and backspace and retype it. So in case you're ever interested in doing this, there is an option for snippets. And you can go to your window and choose Show View. And if it doesn't show up here for snippets, you can go to Other and you can type in snippets and it will come up and show you where it is. So you can select that, and it may not show up over here. It might show up at the bottom of your screen or another side panel, but I just put mine over here because it's easy to switch back and forth between my packages. Now when you are working with a snippet to create one, maybe you'll start to find that you're using the same types of code over and over again. I'll just demonstrate. If you select something in your code and copy it, and then you come over to your snippet panel and you right click, you can choose paste as snippet, and then you can give it a name. So I'm just going to call it set content view. And then we can move it up or down in the list. So if I wanted to move it down to the bottom right, and then I click OK, then if I wanted to use this snippet, I can simply just have my cursor in my document where I want it to be, and I can double click on it and it pops it right into place. Of course, that's not a good place for that code, so I'm going to undo that. But you can also come in here and you can, if you go to customize, you're able to come back in here and edit the snippet, change information about it. And you can also, if I don't need this anymore, I can come in here and delete this. So I'm going to use some of these snippets in this example just because, again, I don't want you to have to suffer through me typing out longer bits of code in here. So as you've seen from previous examples in our Java file, that this is getting our main XML file and displaying it in our first activity. So when this loads, we also wanted to go out to our image view and load in the image that we just selected from the gallery. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paste in a line of code that is going to reference our image view, and I'm going to import the widget so that it will recognize it. So this is referencing our image view in our activity, and so this is the location of where we want the image from the gallery to eventually go. Now, in order to get that to go into there, this is another line of code, and let me just import these items so that we don't have any more errors showing up. And now we can review what this does. So this is referring to the image that's in our activity, and it's going to use setImageURI. So setImageURI, first of all, a URI is a uniform resource identifier, and it's a location of a resource. So in this case, this is referring to the location of an image which is on our device or which is in our emulator. So we need to get that information so that our app knows where to go to get it in order to bring it in and use it. So setImageURI method is using a URI, and how does it get that? It's getting it through this block of code right here. We're getting it from the intent, which is from the gallery, and it's using the getExtras method. Now the getExtras method returns a bundle that contains any key and value pairs that were added to the intent as extras. So our intent is coming from the gallery. The gallery is saying, I want to share this image. So it's coming from the intent as an extra stream. So we're using the getExtras method to be able to make this available as part of our image URI. So now if I save this and I go in and we run it in the emulator, all right, we get this message. Unfortunately, gallery image has stopped. So that's really a nice way of saying that our app has crashed. And that's not surprising, because you may be thinking to yourself that, well, when this app loads for the first time, we haven't gotten any data from the gallery. So it doesn't have anything. This line right here is what's making it crash, because there's nothing coming in from another intent in order to be able to set this image view. But we can still test it in the meantime. I'm going to go into the gallery and still pick an image, because even if we go about it this way, it should be getting data from our gallery. So let me click on share, and then we're going to pick our app, and if all works well, it should take that image and put it into our app. And now this does look a lot like the gallery, but you can see this is our gallery app as opposed to the gallery where we could select among several different images. So by setting up our Android manifest to say we can accept an action to send if it's an image, then make our app available to the user so they can pick it. And then we've gone in here and we've just said, you know, this is identifying where in our activity the image should go, and this is getting the data from the intent from our gallery or any other application that might do this, but we're saying this is going to contain the information of the location of the data and we can set that to our image view. Okay, so how do we get that error to go away so that when we run our app, that's not a good thing to have it crash on the user when they're trying to run it, especially the first time. So I'm going to move this down just a little bit, and we'll add a little bit of code in here. We need to do some checking, and that's what this part is about. We have an error here, and I think that's just because I'm missing a closing curly brace from this if. So we have to do some checking to see whether when our app loads we have any data or any information from any other intents that contains an image that we can put in. So we have if, and if it's not empty, and that's what this information is coming from. We have a bundle. Remember we said that when the data is being sent by the intent, it bundles it up, right? Our get extras gives us a bundle of data. So we're checking to see, we're creating a bundle, we're naming it extras, and we're setting it get to the get intent, get extras methods. That means that there has to be an intent that has extras, and we're assigning that to a variable name called extras. So in our if statement, if it's not empty, then we want it to display. So let's just do a save, and we'll run it and see what happens this time. Okay, so now it loaded our gallery image app. We have our placeholder image here, nothing from the gallery. So now if I go back out to my gallery and I pick an image and I share it and select our app, then yes, our image does come back into our app and place it in there. So now the last thing I think we want to do is set up our app so that if they want to pick a different image from the gallery, we can create a button here so that when they tap the button, it's going to go out to the gallery, let us pick a different image, and bring it into our app. So I'm going to go back into my main XML and add a button. I'll just quickly center it and add some text to it. Okay, now what we'll do is set this button up so that when it's clicked, it's going to go out and open up the gallery. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a method that will do that. So I'm going to go about this a little bit differently than we've done with other things. I'm going to write a method. So the method is going to be called getImage. So I'm going to have my button selected, and I'm going to choose the onClick property for my button, and I'm going to say getImage. And I'm going to make sure I save my main XML, and then I'm going to go to my Java file, and we're going to set up a method called getImage. And again, I'm going to pop this information in, and then we'll review what it does. So we have a public method called getImage, and we're creating a new intent called intent, and we're setting the type of intent for an image and any type of image. And we're setting the action of this intent to action get content. So we're going to be getting content from this intent that we are sending out. We're going to create an intent, can connect to the gallery, and once we start the activity, we want to get information back from it. So I'm going to also post in here or put in here the remaining part of the code because this doesn't really make a lot of sense without the other piece. And let me import the view so we don't have any errors in here. Now for this, start activity for result and the on activity result. Let me bring up the documentation. So this is the developer Android reference page on activities. And if you just scroll down a little bit, you'll find starting activities and getting results. And it starts out with a regular start activity when we specified the intent. So this is what you used when you were going from one button to click to open up another activity. But it goes on to say that if you want to get results back from an activity when it ends, we have to go about that a little bit differently. And the example that they use here is like picking somebody from the contacts list and getting that information and using it in your app. So in order to start that kind of an activity, we use start activity for result. and we specify the intent, and we also give it an integer that is identifying the call. So in other words, that integer that we tack on there is going to identify that this is what called that particular activity. Then the result that comes back from that activity comes in through the onActivityResult method. So these two are tied together. We're going to start the activity in order to get a result, and our result is going to come back to us, and that information will be available through onActivityResult method. So that's how our sample code is set up in here. We're starting an activity for a result, and this is the intent. This whole part right here is creating an intent. And then we have a return value that will identify this activity with this activity result. So that one is going to come back in here as the result code, and that result code is going to match up in here. So we're checking to see if the result that we're getting here is the result for this. We might have several other start activity for results going on in our Java file. So we need to identify which one goes with which block of code. So that's what this is doing. This is checking to see, first of all, we get results. Yes, we did get something to come in. And if this one matches the one that we sent out, then we're going to find the image in the activity, and we're going to set that image with the image URI, and we're going to, the data that gets sent with our intent, we're going to use getData method and put that into our image view. Run it in the emulator. Okay, so it didn't crash, which is good. We have our default image, and we're going to choose Get a Different Image, which should take us out to the gallery. Pick a new image, and it comes right into our app. We don't have to go back out to the gallery and choose Share, so it brought it right back in. So this gives us a direct line right into the gallery. Now you may notice when we go into the gallery, we're actually creating, you can see here, select picture, right? We're creating an intent, and we're also creating a chooser with an intent, and we're giving this intent a thing called select picture. So by setting this for image type, the image type is going to give us the gallery, which holds images. We want to get content from it. We're going to start an activity in order to get a result back or data back. We create an intent, and we're giving it the name of our intent, select picture. This value 1 is going to be our request code, so it says, okay, we can match these two up, especially in case we have other intents, other places where we're getting data back. So we're checking just to make sure that this is the data that's meant for this image view. And we find the image view in our activity, and we load it with the data that comes back from our result. So that is a demonstration of implicit intents, announcing that we're available to handle these kinds of activities, and then also working with an intent in order to get a result back.